Well, Ted, the match everyone wants to talk about when it comes to WrestleMania 10 is Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon in a ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship. Meltzer would say that Shawn Michaels put on the single greatest performance in the history of the business here. Something I've heard a few times over the years is that folks are going to say that it was Shawn had a 5-star match with a ladder, which it feels a little bit unfair to Scott Hall, who is Shawn's dance partner here. What's your take on that narrative?
Well, I mean, I agree. I mean, it was an unbelievable match, but I wouldn't give all the credit to Shawn. I would give a lot of the credit to Shawn, but I mean, it takes two to tango, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
So if the guy that you're out there in the ring with isn't doing his part, then in other words, you might be good, but that other guy's got to be doing what he's supposed to be doing to make you look good. So, Dave, get a grip.
Get a grip, Dave. And yeah, I mean, like, Scott is one of those guys who just seemed like he was always in the right spot. Like he knew wrestling well enough to know, like, here's where I need to be at this time. He knew
Yeah.
about timing and pacing. And yeah, I love Scott Hall's work. So I think he deserves certainly 50% of
Yeah.
the credit here.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the match itself goes, there's not much to say about it that hasn't already been said. It was phenomenal, and I think both performers were key to the success of it. So, Ted, I'm going to ask you one of these questions that I know is hard to answer, but let's see if you can come up with something. For your money, is this the greatest WrestleMania match of all time? This ladder match?
Mm. No. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say it was the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. I mean, you think about how many big events that there've been in wrestling. My gosh, to take one match like that and say it was the greatest of all time. No, one of the greatest of all time. Could it be in the top 10? Yeah, I'd say yes to that. And I don't know in terms of, I don't even, I don't know that I was ever involved in a match that would be considered in the top 10 or anything. But I mean, I've been in some good, well, me and Savage at WrestleMania 4, we had a hell of a match. And that's the first time that we had ever touched. Randy and I had never been in the ring together before that day.
It was phenomenal.
And that is, and Shawn, in this ladder match, they had other battles. This was like the culmination, so there's a lot of things that have to be taken into yeah, I just,
It's a really good point, Ted, because Shawn and Razor both talked about how they had had matches, a ton of ladder matches leading up to this, and they were starting to figure out like different type of ladder matches. They'd have like the A match, the B match, and the C match, like where it's 3 different types of matches with the ladder. And they were like, well, tonight we'll do the B match for WrestleMania.
yeah.
So they had a lot of time to kind of hone this. Where in the meantime, it's like guys. Sometimes you get in there and it's just fresh and you've got to just go on the fly.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, that's always the best way. The finish, that's the old school. There's 2 things, the one thing you always know is the finish, the way it's going to end, because that's what you're going to leave in the people's mind. So you can get them. It's kind of like watching a soap opera. Those soap operas always end with like, well, I guess I'm going to have to tune in tomorrow to see what happened. That's wrestling. Same thing. It's an ongoing storyline. So there's a lot of matches, oh my gosh. Greatest of all time. I don't think there's any one single match that could be called that. Now, what they did was exceptional. No doubt. I would say, as far as a ladder match goes, I don't know anybody that's had a better ladder match than those guys had. I'll say that.
No, I don't think so either. I think a lot of
Yeah.
people might argue some of that stuff that the Hardy Boys were doing with Edge and Christian and stuff, but nope. To me, this is.
No,
I think it's the greatest ladder match of all time.
I do too.